William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
And good afternoon and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink. Lerone Landis has Father's Day off because he's being a father today. And all of us non-fathers are here in the studio. Our guest today is...
I'm not a father either. Yeah.
You're not a father, Patti?
You're not?
I'm not a father.
I swore you were.
She's not.
No,
She's a mother.
I'm a mama.
I like it.
Our guest today is newly elected District 6 City Councilman Omar Narvaez. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
You know, just shows Trump's America. Trump was inaugurated. What did he do the next weekend? Mar-a-Lago, right? Went to Florida. Omar has inauguration on Monday.
Correct.
It's going to be millions, maybe even 1.5 million people.
Oh, I think 2 million.
I think it'll be the biggest inauguration Dallas has ever seen.
Yeah.
So the doors open at the Meyerson. If you'd like to go, it's open to the public. Doors open at 9. Seating is at 9:30, and the program begins at 10.
It'll be done by 11, I think.
Yeah, right around 11.
About 11. It's about an hour show, usually.
Yeah.
A show. An hour program.
It's a show.
But then they meet in the afternoon, and they'll choose Mayor Pro Tem and Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, and just some housekeeping things that they'll do, and then they meet for a regular meeting Wednesday, then the following Wednesday, then this is Trump's America. He goes on vacation for a month. I think that's a great job. You worked very hard to get that month-long vacation.
That's right. But I'll be at work during that entire month-long vacation. There's a lot to get going and started. So.
Yeah. We'll see. And I'll come down to your office to see you working hard.
Where's Omar? Oh, he's out.
Oh, we expect him back, about 7 o'clock tonight.
Exactly.
So,
you just missed him.
Now, something happened in this election that has never happened before, and that's that 4 incumbents were unseated. They were not reelected. We've had others who've been not reelected, but never 4 of them at a time. A couple of times in District 3, once in your district. Who was it? Not Maddie Nash. It was...
well, it was a different number, I believe, but Maddie Nash was unseated by Barbara Mallory Carroll.
Okay. And then...
West Dallas hasn't always been in one district together. It's always been sliced up. So.
Anyway, so it's happened before, but usually it's 1.
Yeah.
This time 4.
Scott Griggs took out Delia Hasso. But they were both incumbents, so it was kind of an
that's because of redistricting.
Right, and then the election before that, Scott Griggs took out Dave Newman.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Elba Garcia took out Steve Salazar.
Right. And Steve had been on the council 4 terms, then he came back to the council, and she took him out. Anyway, so it doesn't really happen very often in modern times since the 14-1 form of government that we have, 14 council people, 1 mayor. It's happened 5 times,
maybe
something like that.
And we've only had 14-1 since really the mid-90s.
91.
Right. Yeah.
91.
Oh, 91. Okay.
So we either doubled it or almost doubled it in one election.
Right.
I think it said a lot about what the electorate is thinking about. They want people who are responsive, and I think that was the big message here.
I think it probably was. And I want to talk about your campaign because you ran an unusual, unorthodox campaign.
Well, it was because Omar's an unusual, unorthodox candidate.
Well, but even some others, other people campaign, meet people who have problems in their, hopefully, district, and make promises that once I'm elected, I will do such and such. You met people who were having problems and solved them.
Correct. When we meet folks and we hear their issues, or there were certain things that it was an easy solution. Mrs. Herrera in far West Dallas, in the Eagle Ford portion of West Dallas. I talked to her in her living room, some of the best menudo I've ever had in my life, and my mom will kill me because I did announce it in public that she made the best menudo I've ever had in my life. And
your mother's saying, "Oh, he's being a politician."
Right.
Oh,
but it is really true.
We've lost him.
And my mom's had it, and she finally agreed. So, when she told me about her light that had been out for 4 years, her street lamp. And that was an easy solution, but she just didn't know how to get it fixed. And we were able to take care of that in a couple of days. And, people with, illegal dumping of trash, just certain things where it was just easy to make a phone call.
But with her street light, it shows that nobody was patrolling the streets and paying attention. And I know a number of the council people just drive their districts. They're not going to get every street. They're not going to they don't do it every week, but they'll do 10, 20 streets and mark down which ones are out.
Last week we had an evangelist zealot on and about preservation in Valletta Lil, but the evangelist zealot about streetlights, Pauline Medrano. When she was on council, I mean, it was like it's between her and those bulbs. Because she was calling it in all the time.
To this day, she still has her own special link. It's just for the Honorable Pauline Medrano. So, and those, it's about your quality of life, and that's what I ran on, which was, how do we improve our quality of life, and especially for the residents of District 6, and coming up with the solutions ahead of time and showing people that I can get the job done and will get the job done for them.
You got things done before you were elected, so now they're going to count on you to do those things after.
Correct.
Now let's talk about the problems, because it's kind of a unique problem, but it's happening in other places, but not as dramatically as in District 6. District 6 includes the Trinity Groves, which is the restaurant incubator directly across the river on the new bridge.
Or people from West Dallas would call La Bajada. So it was gentrified. It's gentrifying a neighborhood that's called La Bajada, and now they've changed the name. But the people that are still there call it La Bajada.
We've had gentrification in other areas, like Oak Lawn, but Oak Lawn wasn't as poor as this area was, and it didn't really go up as high as this area. So this area is going from one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city to one of the wealthiest.
It has that potential if we're not careful and don't treat it correctly and make sure that we have somebody there that's going to fight for the residents that already lived there for generations.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to knock the incumbent. She saw new jobs coming in. She saw new construction coming in. She backed it. So did the mayor back that. And you saw it getting out of hand.
Yeah, it was too much too fast. And without community involvement, a lot of community members were really upset that they felt that they weren't part of the process. Nobody in West Dallas wants zero progress or nothing to change. They do, but not at the expense off of their backs, where our residents, the people that live in West Dallas, are getting displaced. And that was the biggest concern. And so, you have to be very careful when you're working these deals out. And the hard part was the jobs were promised for West Dallas residents, but when you go to Trinity Grove and the apartment complexes that have opened up, nobody in those is from West Dallas. They're all from some other part of the city, which isn't a bad thing either. But these are jobs that were promised to West Dallas folks, and nobody got them. And the worst part is those restaurants, the neighborhood that's right behind it, La Bajada, very few people in that neighborhood are coming to eat in Trinity Grove. They're just either they can't afford it, or it's just not the right kind of food for people in the district. And we have what is good though is we have a lot of new little mom and pop style restaurants opening up all over, especially down Singleton. And I'm really excited about that, because that's the kind of stuff I think we can see. I think we can have a renaissance in West Dallas that's similar to Bishop Arts, where maybe like Davis Street, where it's walkable. People can go in, and if we can build those strong mom and pop businesses, I think that those are the folks they're going to hire. They're going to be from West Dallas and hire folks from West Dallas, and that'll help build the economy. I always say this all the time: is we do this backwards in the city of Dallas. We invest so much money into what we say "quote unquote" economic development, but we do it backwards, and we need to build strong neighborhoods. the economic development, the businesses will follow a strong neighborhood because nobody's going to open up their coffee shop in the middle of an empty neighborhood. You want to open it up where it's thriving because it's a walkable place. It's somewhere where you want it to be a neighborhood friendly
Well, for years,
place.
People downtown couldn't understand, why is downtown not thriving? Why are all the stores closing? Because in all of downtown, until just about 10 years ago or so, there was one apartment building.
Right.
That doesn't support Neiman Marcus. It doesn't support, there was a Sanger Harris, there was a Joske's, there was a, what else? There were several other big, and then next to Neiman's, that whole block or 2 blocks, it was all the stores that are in the malls.
Right.
And it was wonderful when I first moved here in the 70s. That really was a walking street. I don't know how those stores survived. Well, they really didn't, because during the 80s, that whole area died.
Right.
Finally, there's people living downtown, and as usual, the gay community was at the forefront of that. It's something like 40% of downtown residents are LGBT.
I don't know.
It is something like that.
Wow.
And that's a Visit Dallas statistic that I had gotten. But in West Dallas, there was another big problem, and that was a number of homes were going to be condemned.
Right.
Tell us that story.
So there's, really quickly, there's a code that was updated called Chapter 27 with the city of Dallas. And it was a good thing. It brought up the minimum living standards for people living in the city of Dallas, especially when it came to people living in rental facilities. And this issue started off in District 6, which was Northwest Dallas. There's a lot of apartment complexes around the Love Field area and the Bachman Lake area. And these folks were, not getting anywhere with their landlords. So Chapter 27 was championed and it moved up. And it was something that I had supported as a citizen, and but the problem with Chapter 27 is that it has loopholes in it and it was never intended to put people out of their homes or to close businesses down, and so
it was really intended to make landlords do the improvements that they needed to do.
That was what it was supposed to do.
Just bring them up to code.
Right.
And there are a lot of things that if it's still functioning, you don't have to bring it up to code.
Right. And the hard part was there wasn't enough time given for, if you want to say, the mega renters, because there are a few companies that own well over 1,000, either single family homes or apartment, units, and that were below the new standard, and it didn't give them enough time to bring their properties up to the new minimum standard, and that's what happened in West Dallas. Was HMK decided they were out of the rental business. And that left about 305 families in West Dallas that were not going to have a place to live.
Okay, so there were about 305 homes.
At the beginning, right.
Most of those were rented by families, not
Correct.
just by an individual
Correct.
person. They're very small homes, but...
And anywhere from about 800 to 1,000 square feet, 2-bedroom homes, very humble homes, and... they would rent for anywhere from $400 to $600 a month.
So very reasonable, probably the most reasonable housing in Dallas.
Right.
Especially the most reasonable housing anywhere near downtown.
Correct.
If any of these people work downtown, they could get there easily. So the landlord was told he had to make all kinds of updates.
Correct. All the repairs. And the thing with Chapter 27 is the fines for a landlord is $1,000 a day per unit. Well, if you own 1,500 properties the way HMK does across the city, and not saying that all of them are below substandard or below the standard, but let's say it was 500 at $1,000 a day.
That's $500,000 a day.
That would literally bankrupt him, and so he knew this, and he decided to get out of the rental business. Well, it's really hard when you, from one day to the next, it's like everybody has 30 days to get out. And the good part was community members that I worked with throughout, not just my campaign, but beforehand, got together and we gathered around. We had to find a solution. What do we do? Because we can't have 305 families on the streets, living alone. And we were able to, some people did find new places to live quickly, whether it was with other family members or, going to other suburb cities.
That's 305 families. Some found how many? Maybe 50?
By the end of it, immediately probably about 50, 60 right away.
So there's 250 families.
Right, still that needed homes. And little by little, by the time we got to when we made a solution with Mr. Kreisch of HMK, which I'm thankful that after months and months of meetings and talking to him, he decided that he would sell his properties to his tenants So, which is part of what we want to do. We want to make people landowners in the city of Dallas if they're eligible, and so that happened. So, as of last week, I believe it's 75, 77 homes that have closed already.
Really?
Yes. I mean,
that's
within 3 weeks.
like lightning speed.
Lightning speed. Zero
close
down.
on a home.
Zero down. Zero closing costs.
And Omar is saying closed as in these people own their homes
Right.
now.
They own
not
the
close
home.
not close the house.
Right,
Say
not closed the house. Did the closing of the mortgage. They are now landowners in the city of Dallas, and there's more. And we think Mr. Craig said he believes by the end of July he should have closed on about 150 homes. And so when we had to come up with the solution.
Now, how is he financing them?
So he's now has his own mortgage company. So he's went from being the landlord to now the lender,
because he actually owned the properties outright. He
Correct.
didn't have a big mortgage that
Correct.
he had to
Correct.
service. Okay,
correct. So he's now the mortgage lender. So which is really good for these folks, because a lot of them they're used to, this is where I go to make my rent payment. Now they know this is where I go to make my mortgage payment. And some people, ask me like, well, now how are they going to afford the taxes and afford this? Well, the great thing is because it's a mortgage, a 20-year fixed interest mortgage, the folks' payment actually for the mortgage payment went down, and then the taxes that are so minimal because of the values, that most of them are paying about what they were already paying in rent, if not a little less. And so that's a great thing for them. And then,
even with insurance?
So, well, no, that's not with that. They have to get their own insurance outside of that. And he didn't require it, but, they've all been advised, like, we have really been adamant about,
because a normal mortgage, you have to have
right.
insurance.
You would have to have it.
We need to take a break. We're talking to newly elected Dallas City Councilman, the gay Omar Narvaez. You knew I couldn't just say the Honorable Omar Narvaez. Have you been called the Honorable Omar Narvaez?
I have. Well, remember, I was Dallas County Schools trustee.
Okay.
So
this is Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hey guys, I'm C.D. Curvin, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And this is Lambda Weekly. I'm David Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink, who was very, very early today. And that was because we went to a Dallas Wings game last week.
Yeah.
On Friday, not last week, on Friday. The Wings were ahead the whole game. The New York Liberty pulled up. Tie game in overtime. They blew the Wings away.
Yeah.
it was sad.
It was very sad.
It was.
Was Comey there?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
James Comey?
Yeah.
But it was a fun night. It was Pride Night. So.
It was Pride Night. It was a lot of fun. And I love the Dallas Wings. Was that your first time
It was
going?
my first game, but
Your first game? Because I went to a bunch of them last summer, and the Wings are just a lot of fun to watch, even if they're not winning. The publicist came over to me, and she said, well, which games did you go to last year? And I said, all the ones that you lost.
Well, maybe it's David. Yeah.
Could be.
Hey, and you even had it was a polo shirt, but it was the team's colors.
I wore
That was
the
really
team's
awesome.
colors. I bought that shirt specially because I wanted a shirt with the team's colors.
That's not an easy color to find. So.
No, it wasn't. But I found it. When I saw it, I said, I need that. But I love the Wings. They are so much fun to watch.
And they did a really good job, I thought, of keeping it Pride, and I loved the tribute that they did for the
49.
The 49 Pulse victims.
What they did was they took 49 seats and put a Pride T-shirt over each seat.
Right.
And it really was very moving.
It was a really pretty stunning view up there to
really
see
was,
those seats.
Yeah.
But Patti was there early. She was there for the pre-show.
Yep.
She was even there for the Star Spangled Banner.
Wow.
So I pointed out to Patti, our show starts at 1. I pointed out here at KNON we do the Star Spangled Banner every week at 12:30, and so she decided now she has to be here early.
Yeah, because I like to hear but he said you were going to sing it, so...
He did. You weren't here
You
yet.
were late.
Because I wanted to know what you were going to do with that high note. Were you going to go for it, nail it, or bail?
Of course I nailed it.
We are talking to newly elected Dallas City Councilman Omar Narvaez. He represents District 6, which is the design district, and West Dallas, and runs up the west side of
Bachman Lake,
the
Midway
city.
Hollow, Bradford Estates, Northwest Dallas.
Runs all the way up to LBJ.
Bachman Lake, all the way up to LBJ and 635.
It's a long, skinny.
Yep, and then I have Cypress Waters as well, which is a little island surrounded by Irving and Capel. I'm at Beltline and
that nobody lives in.
No, there's people that live there. So
okay.
there's two apartment complexes.
Oh.
And there were, for this election, we had 15 people voted from there.
Wow.
In the runoff. 20 voted in the first round and 15 voted in the second round.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
15 in the runoff.
Right. So for that little area in the first round, I got spanked. I lost that precinct 13-3, and then in the runoff, I still lost it, but I lost it 7-6. So
okay.
So
you picked up some votes.
I picked up votes there. So it's it was a great thing. But overall in the runoff, we really flipped a lot of districts and flipped a lot of different areas, and it was really exciting day. But I realized that I needed that runoff in order to help build my momentum and build my message up, because in the first round there were 6 candidates,
right?
And it was an intense race, during that first round, and I'm really excited and happy that I made the runoff, and of course I'm even more proud and excited that we pulled it off at the end of the game, the end of the election,
Pretty solidly too.
So we can now call him
56%,
Yeah.
something like that.
We now have to refer to him as the Honorable Omar Narvaez. Is everybody now? You work at Lambda Legal.
I do work at Lambda Legal.
For now. We'll see how that works out. It's a funny thing. A lot of city council people keep their day jobs.
Correct.
A number of them are attorneys, but others have a variety of other jobs.
Yeah.
And
Some
a number
have real
of them,
estate businesses, things
Right.
like that. So.
but yours, it's not really a conflict with what you do.
I don't think so, but I want to do what's right for Lambda Legal, obviously, and obviously for the residents of District 6. So, because what I do at Lambda Legal is I'm the Texas policy advocate. So I was at the state ledge. I'll be doing that again. I was fighting negative, LGBT bills.
But here's where it's not a conflict. The lobbyists who were working for the city of Dallas had the exact same agenda that you had.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't think there was a single conflict in any of the policies that Lambda Legal
Right.
would have
Yeah.
been supporting and the city of Dallas was supporting.
And Lambda Legal would be, no doubt, focused really on LGBT issues.
Correct.
And I don't think there's any conflict. I mean, and the city of Dallas has been aligned with our community in terms of legislation for a really long time.
Right.
And that was part of that LGBT equality resolution in 2014.
Right.
Was to include the lobbyists that the city pays. We have paid lobbyists who, advance the cause
And I think that
and
was
issues of the city.
wasn't that your idea, Patty?
Yes.
To make sure we got that into that.
Yes, it was really
I remember
important to
working
me.
with you on that.
Because I remember back in the 90s, there was the whole fight against 2106, and the city put everything behind it. And said, we're
one
going to fight
reason
that.
Lambda Legal aligns with the LGBT community, we want local cities to be able to have their own ordinances
Correct.
to regulate, where you can go to the bathroom in your own city.
Correct.
And if we feel...
And trees.
And we want to regulate our own trees.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight trees or gay trees.
Straight trees or gay trees. Local control is very important.
And that's important for the gay community.
Right. And trees.
It's important, and the trees, it's important for the city to be able to regulate
That's right.
landscaping on properties and what things look like. Because what they did on Forest Lane,
Which is in my district.
it devalues all of that property
Correct.
around it
Correct.
tremendously.
broke my heart.
75 full-grown oak trees, on Forest Lane. It's like you took the forest out of Forest Lane, and I'm working with local residents already. Before I was even elected, I jumped out there to go see what happened. It was devastating to see, because I was there the next day. It looked like a tornado had gone through. I did a live Facebook feed on that.
And why were those trees torn down?
So from what we understand is the property owner has sold it to developers, and they're going to build a a storage unit facility.
Oh, we need those.
Oh, here we go.
We don't have enough of those.
Last week, this was...
Valletta was hysterical. She said, some of them that they're building kind of solid. If they stick around for 30 years, I might have to fight to preserve them.
And the property owner had decided that you wouldn't be able to see the building, and instead of just trimming them upward, because you can trim the branches to where the canopies go a little higher. Mm-hmm. It could have been done. Maybe a tree or two needed to be removed, maybe, but 75 of them, and some of them were not in the way of anything, no building at all. And the building that's there right now is not exactly the best looking building in the, it's not anything you would.
But it's hidden by trees.
It was hidden by trees, so it was, and it looked great with the trees. And, so that's what basically happened. And I'm afraid.
Slaughter.
It was a slaughter, and I'm afraid because they topped the trees. And I'm afraid that this property owner, and this is something we're investigating. And once I'm in office on Monday, we can really start to get more answers. But what I'm afraid of is that the property owner did not go get a permit because they didn't cut the trees down and remove them.
They just killed them.
Right. And so if you top them, then eventually they'll die, and then you'll be able to remove them because there's a fee about it's about the perimeter of the tree. If you're removing a tree, it's $100 for every inch of perimeter of a tree at the 4-foot height line. And we think that that's the reason they topped them, was so that we didn't remove the tree, and then you can avoid the fee. But we'll look into it, and I want to. Sandy Grayson, Councilmember Sandy Grayson, at the last council meeting this past Wednesday, mentioned, because this also happened down in South Dallas on Highway 67, and I just heard there's another property where a bunch of trees were removed as well by a developer, and this is something that we need to stop in the city. Unless
we need
the governor
more storage
changes
facilities.
We do need more storage facilities.
And CVS's.
And CVS's. And these are things that we just got to really look at and watch. But, it's also hard because a lot of people at Midway Hollow, which is in my district, there's a new CVS going in that
thank goodness.
They're so upset because it took out a small strip shopping center where there was a donut shop, a tailor that had been there for decades. So we put people out of business for another CVS, and there's already 4 CVS's within like a 1.5 mile radius of that neighborhood.
But there wasn't one there.
There wasn't one there on that corner. They're thrilled about the Central Market going in across the street, but not this CVS, because just literally up the street, one way is another CVS. There's a Target that has a CVS inside of it. They didn't need another one. And that's stuff that we have to watch. Because when you have that zoning, it's already built for commercial. Once the property owner buys it, they don't have to come back for zoning again because it's already built for zoning. It's already zoned for commercial. So it's when you're trying to change the zoning that makes things difficult. But that's where we have to have a council member there that is watching what's going on. And so when the neighbors start talking and speaking up, we can at least go to the new owner or whoever's building and say, hey, let's slow down a little bit and take a look and see if we can change up the specs or make it look a little bit different. Because
do you know what the best thing the neighborhood can do with that new storage facility? Not use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had to go. When I was living in Switzerland, they had a law, and this is, Switzerland's very much about the common good. What's best for the common good, and you couldn't cut down a tree on your own property until you got the permission of everyone who could see the tree.
Oh.
Because if it really affected their view.
What if you had a mountain in your way?
I don't know if you get permission
Could you cut the mountain down?
No, but they don't usually do that. They go through the mountain.
Oh, okay.
Just drill right through.
But do they have to get permission to go through the mountain from everybody who can see the mountain?
I don't know about that, but it's what they had on trees, and I thought that was a kind of a great rule.
I like that.
It's one way of notifying them that you want to cut down the tree, but it's also to get their permission.
Right. And then that's the thing is we can make an ordinance that's a little tougher unless this special session eliminates our ability to have tree ordinances, and then
one city councilman
building codes,
or one state representative said to me, "I wonder what would happen if 55 Democrats didn't show up in Austin for this special session." Just asking for a friend.
I'd love to see that they've been to New Mexico, they've been to Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'd love to see them go to Louisiana.
Yeah, it's time to either go to Arkansas or Louisiana.
There's a Democratic governor in Louisiana.
That's right. That's right.
would welcome them with open arms.
So Omar is our first openly gay city council person in about 10 years. The last one was Ed Oakley.
Right.
And before that, John Loza. And they served at the same time, but John went off the council. Ed resigned to run for mayor.
For mayor, I think in 07.
In something like that. And out of a field of 11 people, Ed came in second. So it's been a decade since we've had an openly gay
And I didn't know
member.
this until the other night. I spoke at the Pride March that we had the other night here at the Resource Center.
Yeah.
I think, was it a week ago today?
Yeah, it seems like it's been a month.
Right. Yeah, it was the day after the election, the runoff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I didn't know that news until I think Raphael McDonald or Patty or Aaron Moore, one of you folks, let me know that.
No, it's important to have a gay person at the table, an openly gay person who can say, can speak on behalf of the community, can say, openly that I spoke to a number of people in our community and here's what people are thinking, or the community is divided on this, or, just somebody who can speak to these issues that are important. Adam's been doing a great job as the chair of the mayor's LGBT task force.
Yeah, he's really rocked it.
He really has. This is not criticism of him at all. But as an openly gay person, it just takes on a new, it has even more weight.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally can agree with that and say that, it's, when I get to speak up on our issues, that, people are going to listen to me. It's going to resonate a little bit more because of, I have lived this experience and have lived it openly.
It's your authenticity, and so
Correct.
that has gravitas when it's needed, and people hear it.
But when you said you were surprised it's been 10 years, and Patty, you were like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's because we've had such good representation.
Correct.
Valletta. Well, don't tell me she's not a drag queen.
I was going to get her to tell this story because she told it to us, I think, after a show she'd done with us in the past, but not that long ago. She said that Stuart, her son, at one point when he was little, said, "Mommy, do you have any single male friends who aren't gay?" And she goes, "Well, of course I do." And he said, "Okay, well, name one." And she
couldn't do it.
So, she's an honorary lesbian, I think.
Of course
we
she
need
is.
to make you an honorary lesbian. Next time you're on the show, we're going to have that.
Who wants to be a lesbian? Okay, sure.
I look forward to is there anything I need to study or anything?
No.
Okay.
They're just general knowledge questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we have to say, Laura Miller won with flying colors.
Okay.
So did Harriet Earhart.
Okay, so there's pressure.
Harriet leaned into the mic at the last second and said, "I love you, Jack."
Because she was getting the answers just like this.
So it was so cute. But we'll have to do that because another reason I'm concerned about this council is that we are down to 2 women.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so you have to represent me.
As a feminist, I promise that I will, and I can tell you that I have a proven record. I was able to get passed on the Dallas County Schools Board equal pay for women. That was one of the first things that I did.
Deal.
3 years ago. I was born and raised by single moms, so women's issues are my issues, and especially when I got older and realized and learned that women made 77 cents to the dollar, and then my mom being a Latina probably made about 57 cents to the dollar of her straight white male counterparts. So this is an issue that's very important to me.
It's going to be tough because I'll tell you what, most people don't have moms.
Most people don't.
They're looking at me like, what are you talking about?
Where's David going with this?
Where I'm going with this is, it astounds me that we're arguing about whether or not 2 people who are doing the same job and have the same qualifications should be paid the same pay, when everybody has a mom.
Right.
Everybody has female relatives. Mm-hmm. Whether your mother's alive now or not, why is this difficult for people to understand that, and most women at some point during their lives have worked?
Correct.
Why would you not want that person to get the same pay as somebody else? I just don't even get that.
Right.
And what's sad to me is that you have to tell a lot of men, "Oh, well, you have a mother or you have a sister." And you know what? I love that graphic that says, where it says she's somebody's daughter, sister, mother, friend, and it just marks out everything, and it just says she's somebody.
Right.
In her own right, without all y'all.
Yeah, I'm not saying
you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to have a relationship.
I'm not saying that's the reason that's the only reason, but I'm saying, why don't people get it? They've lived with these people and should be able to get it. It shouldn't be that difficult.
It shouldn't be that way, but I call that the Rob Portman theory of relative moralism, or moral relativity, where until it happens to you, like Rob Portman was virulently anti-gay until his son came out to him, and then suddenly he's, of a different mind. And that's why I kind of call it his moral relativism.
He's a congressman.
Right, or senator.
Senator. From Illinois?
Oh, Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
And
one of those northern states.
Yeah.
They all they all look the same.
But it's kind of the same thing, because they don't really get it until it happens to them personally.
Right.
And then suddenly they're like, oh my God. But before that, they were just like, you're on your own.
Right.
And, we don't care whether you exist or not.
When I think that's like with the city of Dallas, why the city of Dallas became so strong on LGBT issues was all of a sudden a lot of the elected officials knew somebody or had a relative, and all of a sudden
there were some on city council,
right? And then there were some on city council, and it's really hard to look at your neighbor and say, I'm voting against you. Not that it hasn't happened. It still happened. Even recently we had council members who are no longer on the council anymore who refused to sign the Declaration for Pride, the Pride
here's
Parade
what I have to say about that.
So.
Right.
One of the jobs of a city council person is to welcome people into our city.
Correct.
And I don't care if it's the worst right-wing extremist group that's coming here for a convention. I expect you to sign the welcome letter.
Right.
Because that's what we elected you to do, to be gracious.
Right.
We're not saying that you're endorsing their policies. Just welcome people.
Right. It says, welcome to our city, and we hope you spend a lot of money while you're here.
Exactly.
And, we may not want you to move here if you have those mean, bigoted ideas and thoughts, but we still want people to feel welcome in our city.
Welcoming people to our city. We need to take a break. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink. The very late Lerone Landis will be back with us next week. He's off celebrating Father's Day with Gabrielle. And we'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
This is Rollins Gilliland, and I'm listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3, and darn glad to be doing it.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink, and our guest is the Honorable, or soon-to-be Honorable, Omar Narvaez.
It depends on who you talk to.
He's kind of between honorables.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that because I resigned from Dallas County Schools yesterday, so I'm in between. I'm honorable
the dishonorable
right now.
No, he's the dishonorable Omar Narvaez. One of the things that you campaigned on was to end corruption at City Hall.
Yeah.
So let's name some names. I thought I'd get him there. He's looking at me and like, no, we saw Adam also at the Wings game on Friday night, and I did point out to him that Omar's campaign was based on ending corruption at City Hall, so I wanted Adam to come on to explain how corrupt he was.
Adam's there fighting corruption as well.
Oh, okay.
So
But Adam was one of the sponsors for Pride Night at the Wings game, and so he got some free tickets. That's how we went. Members of the task, a lot of people on the task force got tickets and stuff, and that was delightful. And he certainly got a round of applause when his name came up on the screen.
Yeah, it was exciting to see
as a sponsor.
And people, he's done such a great job, and I look forward to working with him because I think he, like me, is a community-based person and, wants to work on behalf of our neighborhoods and fight for our neighborhoods. And that's what I was running on was, yes, ending the corruption and the wasteful spending of our tax dollars at City Hall. And there's a lot of wasteful spending, and it's time we rein some of that in. So we can fix our streets and work on affordable housing and take care of our...
One of the things we were talking about earlier in the show was housing in West Dallas.
Yeah.
And you were part of arranging for a number of homeowners to be able to purchase their own homes that they were renting before. Some of the houses were really in terrible condition and had to be torn down or will be torn down. But you talked to Habitat for Humanity, didn't you?
Yeah. So there's several nonprofits that are ready to go to help the folks, that maybe don't qualify for city money or county money, that will help them fix their homes. And then there's a lot of the big nonprofits that have lined up that are ready to help, and Habitat for Humanity is definitely one of them. Habitat for Humanity's headquarters is right there in the heart of West Dallas. So, and a lot of Habitat for Humanity homes are in West Dallas. So, it's a perfect partner, as well as Builders for Hope and, other groups like that. And then there's several churches that are ready to help. And I've already been contacted by several companies who want to send volunteers if we need them. Because we're going to have a summer of work, and we got to get these homes fixed up. And, and I'm hoping when I get to council that we can give a, moratorium's the right word or not, but just a pause on Chapter 27 for homeowners. Because, the fee against or the penalty against a landlord is $1,000 a day, but it's about $10 a day for an homeowner. So it's not as devastating. But when you are...
Still, that adds up.
It adds up. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50.
Well, but if you're working on it, or working with a nonprofit to fix things,
right,
or you're in line, the city isn't going to actually find these people if they're...
If people are getting their stuff going, then it shows that they're working on it, then the city, lays off.
Okay.
But first it's a warning, and you have so many days to take care of, like if you have high weeds, or you need a new piece of siding, or you have branches that are, too big, you have so many days to take care of that issue, and then you just go back and prove that you took care of it. But if you don't, then you go to court, and then they'll assess a fine. And, and the fines can add up, $100, $250, $300. And especially for some of the families in those homes that are the working poor, or, seniors, or people that are on disability, Social Security, $100, that's devastating.
Well, but I would really hope that neighborhood is going to be given special consideration. There's a limited number of bodies that can actually do some of this work. And, because you say, okay, clearing the weeds, and most people just think, so go out and mow your lawn. People don't have lawnmowers.
Right. And that's the thing.
They were not the homeowner. They had no reason to have a lawnmower necessarily.
Right. So these are things that, we're going to address and get fixed. And once we can get going, we want to make sure that these folks are taken care of. And not just in West Dallas, but across the city, because this isn't the only place that's going to affect people. We have a lot of issues going on down in South Dallas, as well as Northwest Dallas. And I think together we can get things to happen, and we can pass things that'll help all of these folks.
Now I have a request for you.
Okay.
It has to do with Habitat for Humanity. Was it 6 years ago, the Haiti earthquake? Okay, so a friend of mine went down with Habitat for a Thanksgiving week-long house building expedition. Spree, whatever. And he built, he along with a team of, I think the teams were like 10 people per team, were building a house, and the next team building the next house. And they must have built 100 homes, something like that. Rosalind and Jimmy Carter were there.
Oh, nice.
And he said they were working the entire time. Yeah. So how old is Jimmy Carter now? 90?
Well, he's laying up there. 95? 96?
No, he's not that old. I think he's more like 94.
To the Google.
Anyway, he was late 80s at the time.
Still working hard.
And this friend of mine said, if I had to pick one of these houses, I'd want to live in Jimmy's house. Because that was the best built. He was amazing. So I want you to get us Jimmy and Rosalind.
I will.
I think that would be awesome.
We have a contact, maybe my good friend Eric Johnson, who is a member of the
Carter Foundation.
The Carter Foundation. Maybe he can help us.
Since it was my idea, I need the interview.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
If he's here on a Sunday.
There was a story just this past week about Jimmy Carter was on a flight, and he went and shook everybody's hand on the plane.
He shook everybody's hand on the plane. So.
Just a stellar guy.
Yeah, the one time I met him was at Wesleyan University over in Fort Worth, and I was representing my school. They were inducting, or whatever you do to a new president of the school. Josh, you work at a college. What's the word that I'm thinking? Okay. And so I was representing my school, and they sent me my colors, and everybody, we had this big procession, and at the end, and Jimmy Carter was the speaker, and that was the one time I met him. Nicest guy.
Yeah,
just the most down-to-earth person.
The honor of meeting him, but that was the first campaign I ever worked on when I was 5 years old.
He was the first vote I cast for president. It was for Jimmy Carter. It was, and I have it now. Drum roll. 92 years.
92. Okay, so he was about 87, 86 at the time. But
wasn't he here in Dallas just a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think
helping build a house. So.
And relatively recently.
Right.
I mean, we're having a hard time remembering that last week was when we had that rally.
That's right.
Perspective.
Anyway,
so much has been going on right now.
Let's go back to Lambda Legal for a minute. What are some of the things Lambda Legal is working on right now out of your office? Lambda Legal has 5 regional offices?
Well, there's 5 offices. Actually, we just opened on Thursday. We just had the groundbreaking, if you want to call it, but the office opening of our 6th office in Washington, D.C. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, so we're finally in D.C. So a small office, but in order for us to be able to do the lobbying work that we do at a better level in the federal
It helps
government.
if you're there.
It does help if you're there. And we hired Sarah McGowan, and she's our director for that area for policy. She came from the Obama administration. And so she's a great person to have there because she's already, she's already in there. So that's really exciting news because we are taking a different approach with our new CEO, Rachel Tiven. And I like the changes that are happening with Lambda. Because people know us in the courts, and we will continue to be fighting in the courts and fighting for the full recognition of LGBT civil rights and those living with HIV. But on top of that, now we're doing a lot more of the lobbying at the state house and the federal level.
And I know, especially with this legislative session, you've been down in Austin working with Equality Texas and
Texas
HRC.
was one of our focus states because we're starting to do a little bit more of a southern strategy because that's where the battleground is for LGBT
So they're
rights.
coming for us.
Right, they're coming for us, right, because of the legislatures, the way they're built and stacked up. So
where's the office in D.C.? Just curious.
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay. We'll look at it.
Google.
Google. To Google.
The late Patti Fink is great at the Google.
So what are some of the, in addition to the legislative, Lambda Legal is known for its impact legislation. Are there any big cases?
Impact litigation.
Litigation.
Yeah.
What did I say? Oh, legislation. Litigation. Are there any big cases that are going to come out of the Dallas office or that are in the courts?
Well, I can't tell you the things coming out of the Dallas office yet, but I can tell you in the event that there is anything passed that has to do with bathrooms, Lambda is ready to sue, as well as 3859, which just passed, didn't just pass, it just got signed into law a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I think on Thursday. So that's the adoption foster care bill that it allows for religious exemptions for agencies when it comes to LGBT.
Well, it gives these religious agencies money.
Right, and we give them money,
taxpayer money
to discriminate. So I can tell you that there will be something probably there that'll be looked at, but I couldn't tell you when or how or what would be happening.
So you don't know if you're actually looking for a couple who's gone to an agency and has been turned away. Well, it would be too soon because they haven't gotten any money yet.
Well, and September 1 is when the law goes into effect, and so I'm unfortunately not able to answer that question because of
what I'm really asking is there might be listeners who something has happened to,
and if you've been discriminated against, especially in with the foster agency or adoption agency or any other issue that has to do with your sexual orientation, your gender identity expression, or your HIV status, definitely call Lambda Legal at our legal help desk hotline, 214-219-8585, 219-8585, because that sometimes you just have a question and you need to have it answered, and we have professional staff that's what they do is get you the answers that you need or the resources that you need. We don't take every case that calls, because we don't do direct services, but because we do impact litigation on the grand scale. But with the way things are going, especially with the new national federal administration, a lot of our rights are, they're coming after them, and so it's important that we continue to stand up and fight back and let people know. And organizations like ours at Lambda Legal and our sister organizations like the ACLU, they're great organizations that, we're all working together to fight on behalf of our civil rights.
Good.
I just looked this up. Apparently, you're at the museum.
Oh, okay. There you go.
They're at the Knight
I didn't
Center.
know that. So
the
I'm
Knight
glad to hear
Center
that.
at the museum on Pennsylvania Avenue in D.C. So
Yeah, thank you for letting me know
there.
that.
Nice location.
At least that's where the event was.
Right,
so.
because and the reason was we had an event in Houston with our leadership committee the same night. So we were really busy getting ready for our Houston event, and so they allowed us to not be as focused on DC, I guess, since we had our second largest fundraising event for Texas. Right, it's in Houston, and it was this past Thursday, and then coming up on August the 11th is our landmark dinner. And so, if there's any tickets available, people should grab onto them quickly because it's always a sold out event. And
is that here in Dallas?
That was here in Dallas, yeah, and that's
Awesome.
our largest event here in Texas. So
to the Google.
Pull your
That's
credit
your
card
Lambda
out.
Legal hat. That's your Lambda Legal hat. Will you be wearing just 2 hats for a while?
Yes, I'm just going to be wearing 2 hats for a while. And
one of those doesn't say "Make America Great Again," does it?
None of them say "Make America Great Again." I'm going to continue being on the Planned Parenthood Community Board.
Ooh! I have a good slogan for him: "Make District 6 great again."
There you go.
And on City Council, we've been talking mostly about housing and just code violations or things that need to be repaired, like street lights and sidewalks and that kind of thing. What else were you hearing from people as you were going door to door? We only have a minute.
Sure. Public safety, housing. Those were the 3 main issues that people were talking about. Quality of life, and then after that it was parks. And
I have one that you can work on. Fix the 911 system.
That's part of the public safety. So people, talked about the siren issue. When the sirens went off, they talked about 911 a lot. And then, of course, there was pension. The police and fire pension was the overall huge thing because that's what we saw in the media the most. But also, it was over $1 billion. That's
significant.
Just a little bit of money, So, but those were the main issues that people talked about the most. And people just want their neighborhoods focused on, and they're tired of the boondoggle projects that the city of Dallas is wasting our taxpayer money on. And
hey, we needed whitewater in the Trinity.
We did need whitewater in the Trinity, and now we're removing it and costing, I think, another $2 million.
Turn it black again. Black water.
No, that's Betsy DeVos's brother's company.
Oh, okay.
We want that.
Before we go,
probably put something else in the Trinity.
Before we go, I have a shout out. Somebody called in to Arnold. Happy Father's Day from his wife Maria. I want to say Happy Father's Day to Four Eyes and Mars, and hope to see you soon. And we'll see you, Omar, on Monday at 9 o'clock. Actually,
Right.
10 o'clock.
Right.
Because he'll be backstage. He won't be. He has a
I
seat.
know. I was a little
He has
sad,
a
and they
seat.
told me that as soon as I get there, they're going to whisk us backstage. So I was like, but I want to see everybody.
It's
as
like
they
I guess
come
a wedding
in.
day. You can't
Afterwards.
see them.
Right. So
We can't
just-
see you before.
Right, but you'll definitely see us afterwards. And for my supporters that do show up, we're going to have a photographer there so we can take pictures, and we'll get them online as quickly as we possibly can. To just have a good time.
And everybody is welcome.
Yes.
Doors open at 9 at the Meyerson, not at City Hall. But
Right, it's at the Meyerson.
Best way to get there is just DART.
Take DART.
Take the train. Because parking will be limited. It's going to be lots of security and all kinds
Right,
of other
it'll
things
be
like that.
very secure location because you do. I mean, it's a big public event.
Right.
And
But 9 o'clock doors open, 9:30 seating opens, and 10 o'clock the program starts. Everybody welcome. It's really a fun show.
it really
Fun
is.
show,
If you've never
program.
been to the inauguration of City Council, I highly advise you. show
Omar,
up.
you have 2 years in this term. You can run for 3 more terms, so we hope to see you back lots of times during your
I
tenure
look
as a
forward to
city
being here as
council.
many times as
we're
I can.
gonna make you play Who Wants to Be a Lesbian.
I'm ready
Next
to
time.
play. I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready to play because I really want to be a lesbian. So
And next week our guests are city employees.
Brian Price, who's president of the City of Dallas LGBT Employees Association, along with Chief Resilience Officer, who's a member, Teresa O'Donnell, who's been on our show before.
And we'll see you next week. Have a good week.
Happy Father's Day, everybody.